What are the benefits of business coaching? Remember that your biggest competitor is yourself. Often, business owners believe that they already have all the answers and that to ask for help is a sign of failure. Give me a second to show you the top 3 reasons why asking for help through business coaching could instead be beneficial, and how not asking for help is the real sign of failure. Firstly, there's objectivity. A business coach gives you a pair of objective eyes. Somebody is looking at your business, looking at your actions, and looking at your decisions. When you're busy playing the shots, who is watching your game to help you improve? Next is access to cutting-edge resources. Look, you're busy. You have so many things to handle. Your team, your customers, your marketing, your sales, your finance, your systems, planning, and strategic thinking. Do you really have time to be on top of every area of your business? Wouldn't it be helpful to have someone at your side whose entire job is to stay on top of the cutting-edge strategies for business growth? A good coach is one that is learning from every client. She has to ensure each of them are using the best systems, tools, and techniques to give you the leverage you need. Lastly, there's accountability. Think about it like this. You hold your team accountable for the things that they have to do, and that keeps the business ticking, right? But you, as a business owner, as a boss, who holds you accountable? With a business coach, you have someone providing weekly interventions to help remind you to stay on the track that you plan to be on, and to continue moving towards that next level of your business. So why wouldn't you want a business coach? If you'd like to find out whether business coaching with the London Coaching Group, the world's leading action coach firm, led by the Global Coach of the Year.
All right. So, welcome to our program. Today we have our special guest with us, none other than the infamous, the famous Justine Clay. How you doing today, Justine?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. Of course, we have Oscar Capel on board and the beautiful Mona Ostrowski, who was on just earlier as our life coach. But we're on business today. We're talking about business, and we have the business coach Justine Clay with us. Justine, just tell us a little bit about yourself, really quickly.
Yes, I am a business coach and I specialize in working with creative entrepreneurs and professionals. So typically that might be branding and design people, it might be writers, it might be people in media. But I also work with people who, are not traditionally creative, but like to approach their business building from a creative perspective. And so that's really what it is.
So basically, how does that process work?
So the process works. I work with clients typically on a one-on-one or a group basis. And my area of specialty is positioning, messaging, marketing, and building the business structure that supports that positioning. So I think there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of information that's kind of old around how to build a business. And it's like, write a business plan, do these things. And creatives or people in general, entrepreneurs, they should be building the business that serves the impact they want to make in the world, not build the business someone else told them to build and then try to figure out how to fit themselves into that. So that's why those are really my areas of specialty. And I also just, really understand how creatives think and non sort of MBA types think, and help them feel really authentic in their business and actually to build something that's profitable and works. So we don't want an expensive hobby. We want something that's actually going to serve a purpose, have an impact, deliver results, and be profitable for the business owner too.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
That's why I work with people typically over like a 6-month period, because it is a lot of work, and that's where most people get sort of fall down, because they see it as a lot of work. They don't know how to tackle it. They don't really have the tools or the support to do it, and then they kind of just go back to doing business as usual. But if you can break it down into small enough pieces, then I think it was Henry Ford that said nothing is that complicated if you break it down into small enough pieces. I think that's true.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How deep into the process do you go with people? Like, what's the break off point where you're basically like, okay, now you can,
Yeah,
you've got this, and you're moving
yeah.
on.
Yeah, it's a really great question. I mean, I would say, and there are some people that come to me and I say, I don't think I'm the right person for you. I think you need someone who's going to pick up that baton at this point. So just to give a bit more thought about that, like I say, positioning is really the most important and first piece for me. And so I really do take the whole person into account. So when usually how deep do you go? A lot of times I go deep into like their psyche with them, like what's really the thing that is a unique gift and what is their purpose and how do their gifts and purpose and what they're building align. So I'd say I go very deep into that area at the beginning, where I think a lot of business coaches don't even touch that. They don't want to, and that's not their unique brilliance. That's the thing that really intrigues me. And then the expectation is that they should feel very clear in what they do, who they do it for, what results and outcomes they get, how they do it, how they charge for what they do it, and how to market themselves and find their ideal clients and attract them. So, and have some way of processing them. So, they should have a marketing strategy, they should have a website, they should have a process. These are all expectations that they should have for working with me over a 6-month period, that they really feel very solid and clear. And yes, when they leave me, they're going to keep building, they're going to keep evolving, they'll work with other mentors. It's an evolving process, but they should feel really solid and good about those really foundational elements of building a business that can evolve. We don't want to build just one kind of business and then the market goes to pieces and then it doesn't work anymore, right?
It's like once you finish building it, the market shifts and you're like, okay, I'm no longer relevant. What do I do now?
Right.
So you're basically structured as like training wheels as you're learning to ride the bike and you're learning to get your business going, and then you take the training wheels off and like now you have all the structure set up, you have all the plans, you have all the strategies. Go off on your own and recommend some more businesses to me. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, send me all your friends. But it's interesting because I think a lot of people really have a big sort of personal transformation. And when people come to me, it's usually because something in their business isn't working, and they think it's a business problem. And it's partially a business problem, but a lot of times people really have a big personal transformation in the process, and these things start to become integrated, and they really leave as changed people, and with a lot more confidence about their abilities to show up in the world. So yeah, I think training wheels is a good analogy.
I mean, I've been watching like the business, the Profit. Remember Profit, then the program, the series that comes on, and that's what I discover with him. He's an investor. He's not a coach. He's just basically, it's an investment for him. But one thing I realized with watching the program is it's either a system issue or people issue. It's like I've never seen where it's just like, oh, it's the business itself, because it's really made up of those two things. Yeah. And the most he has issues with are with people. Do you run into that same thing?
I mean, I think I work with a lot of solopreneurs, or people who are, the CEOs of small to medium-sized businesses. And I would say, a lot of times it's a people problem, and most times it's an us problem. Like it's us being in our own way problem, And but yeah, and I think the process is too. I think a lot of times one of the big disconnects is that creatives, or just entrepreneurs in general, like they're visionaries and they have these great ideas, and they do feel secure in their mastery and their talent, but they don't have processes or ways to articulate their process or how they work or why it's important. And that can feel sort of businessy, but when they realize how that supports the communication and the delivery of their value and their talent, it's a missing piece a lot of time. So I think it's certainly people and processes. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Wow.
I think I love, if I can jump in, I love what you were saying about, the you are creating your business for you, not so much creating a business that fits into, say, societal expectations or something. And I think that's where the success lies as well. And I don't know, have you seen more entrepreneurs come through during these last 7 months of quarantine? Like, has people's creativity been sparked, given them a little bit of push to follow like that path?
I think just about now, I'm starting to see a little bit more of that. I mean, the way I position myself is to establish creative entrepreneurs and business owners. So I don't tend to have the people who are just like ideating something brand new and starting it. But I would actually say that it's only now that people are starting to be like, okay, well, so this really is the new normal. And I've got to evolve and I've got to figure out what this looks like. I think for the first sort of 6 months for sure of COVID, people were paralyzed, man. Like, even if they knew what they did, like, they were just paralyzed. And I think like their creativity froze. It's like when you're paralyzed or in a place of fear or uncertainty, your creativity and your ideas just can't flow. They can't live in the world. And so I did a group program during that time, and that was actually really incredible for loosening that knot, because people needed to be in community. They needed to know they weren't alone. They needed to know that everybody was feeling this way. And from there, they were able to move forward again. So I would say, Mona, that like sometimes people now are actually coming out and saying, life is uncertain. 2020 has shown us that. Maybe now is a time for me to do it. But I think that they're feeling a bit more confident that they can now. I think it's just being like, well, this is what it is. So, why not now? My kid is just coming in, even though I told him not to. Give me 1 second. 1 second. All right.
So Oscar.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We're all working from home now, so
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't understand that, they're living in the twilight zone. I was watching a program today, and this is on like a mainstream news channel, and she's at home, doing her thing, on the news, and the dog runs into the room, and it's like, what you?
There's a whole new genre. It's Zoom fails. It's a compilation of just things going wrong in the background of Zoom calls, and it's a new.
So I think it's funny though. I think it's really nice to know that people are living like normal lives. Versus like you see them on TV, like, wow, they don't have a problem in the world, and then you see the dog jump in, you're like, okay.
They're human as well.
They're just like me.
Yeah, exactly, right. They have Bruno, but so I had one of my questions was this, like what do you see that's working? We'll start with that part. What do you see that's, what are a couple of things that you see working for people who are in business, for like the person that's watching and they're like, not really kind of figuring out what's going on? What do you see? What do you see working?
It's interesting, and I wish I could give a tactical thing, and maybe something will come to me later, but mindset is always where it's at for me. And I feel like even from the beginning, like when you can adapt a growth mindset and you see a challenge as an opportunity, like there's nothing that you can't handle. Like, you may temporarily be like, I don't even know what to do, right? And to give yourself that space, that's okay too. We're not machines. Like we should be allowed to take time to be like, this is crazy. I'm going to just take a couple of weeks to, mellow out and not try and fix this. But mindset is so key, because one of the things I really noticed at the beginning, which was fascinating to me, there were 3 types of people. There were the people who just literally put their head down and said, I'm going to put my head down and I'll come back when this is all over. There were the others that would just like try to do business as usual. And even in those early days, we all got like those super salesy, just tone deaf emails. And this is not just COVID, we're talking about Black Lives Matter, we're talking about all of these things that have been happening, right? Like just ignoring things and continue to promote. And then there were the people who were adapting, that were saying, I'm going to acknowledge what's going to go on, and I'm going to be there for my clients in whatever way that looks like. The people who are flexible, the people who are adaptable, the people who are resilient, the people say, I don't have the answers, but I do have a space to hear you, or we're reaching out, what do you need from us? Like the people who are proactive and weren't trying to be like, I've got the answer, I've got the solution, buy this, right? Don't, they weren't trying to play on people's insecurities.
I love that when you're talking about mindset, and this is one of the things I think we've talked about. When you have an entrepreneurial mindset, it becomes, if it is to be, it's up to me. You can, if you're in the job mindset that all I got to do is punch in, warm a chair, and I'm going to get paid. And then when something happens, now you're panicked because, that security blanket is gone. Whereas if you start a side hustle or whatever you're doing, now you're in a business mindset. You have to learn new things. You have to fail up. And if they take it away from you, you already have the skills to start from scratch and start all over. One of the things that I love with Robert Kiyosaki, he made $1 million with his Velcro wallet business way back. I think everybody had one at some point. And then his business partner screwed up and bankrupted the company. And his option was get a job or live in his car for 2 months until he could start a new business. Guess which one he chose?
You live in his car.
All right. He lived in his car until he could start a new business, because he said, if I go to the job, it's going to give me a security blanket that I will not need to take off because I'm making a comfortable living. But what can you offer the rest of the world if you're just working, a 9 to 5? So again, that the mindset of like, okay, I have to do it. What do I have to learn? Who do I have to learn from? Who's going to coach me to get me from point A to point B? That's where Justine comes in and say, listen, you have a great idea, but what if we do this? What if we do that? And now, you're helped along to get that, you have the mindset, but do you have the skills? And Justine is the.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were.
So Justine is that missing piece of all the pieces that are moving. Like, how do I get to the next point?
I call that the power of pressure, right? Because there's two things that can happen once pressure hits. You can either, curl up and be like, I am going to crawl in a hole and hope everything dissipates by the time I'm done, or you can be creative. And that's the thing I find with the power of creativity is that it can be like, I'm maybe a bad representative, but a weed. I love the resilience of a weed, because even if you put a rock on it, eventually the weed starts to swallow the rock, because it's like, okay, you might be bigger than me, you might be heavier than me, but eventually I'm going to get you. Like, you see like fungus on a rock, it's not a matter of the rock is like stronger than the fungus, but once the fungus gets its way around it, it's like, I got you now, because it's creative, it's constantly, liquid. And I learned from that, if you become rigid, you break easy. But if you become lucent, when something comes to you, it's just a matter of time before you consume it. It's just, you just got to give it that process of where your creativity starts to work, and, you make it through. Go ahead, Mona.
Well, I just want to say, like, I've had personal experience talking with Justine, listening to her present, and her passion is just, just being on the phone with her for half an hour, and her she's literally just sparking your plugs, and she's starting that process that you're describing. She's kind of adjusting your mind to a place where, that's exactly what I wanted. How come I couldn't come to that myself? So she's like a catalyst that just, you know, pushes you along, like, you know, pushes that snowball down the hill, and the rest is up to you. You know, you grow your business from there, but she gives you that opportunity to not feel that pressure, like that video showed. Like, she takes away a little bit of that pressure so that your creativity can soar. And that's what I love, just being on the phone with her for half an hour, because I was starting my own business and I was like, but what am I doing here? And in half an hour she was able to kind of give me a direction, and that to me was amazing. So thank you, Justine, officially.
Well, thank you for saying that. That's a nice way. I'm glad that was your experience. You know, and I think that's, you know, I always talk to people to say that I believe that everyone has a unique gift, and, you know, that my job is to help them share it with the world. I think that's my gift. I think I can see, I'm almost like the moon reflecting back to them. I can see their brilliance, and somehow when I'm connected with them, articulate something that, like you say, then they can go with it, because it's just there's a blockage there. That's all it is. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's just that it needs, you know, I think it's like it needs someone else to believe in it too. It needs someone else to see it too. And then when someone knows that someone else sees it,
we can go back to Monica's. We can go back to Monica's earlier thing that she says. You know, these blocks are put into your head by the age of 7, and they live in your subconscious. And you need someone to say that's not true. You know, why do you think this limitation is true? And people don't know why they do, because that's what I've always, you know, that's what I've always seen. So that's my limitation. So you can come in and say, well, that, you know, I've known people that have gotten past that limitation doing this, and this.
Do you ever find that you have to become people's like psychologist as well?
No, and it's interesting. I always and just to before I just have a thought when Mona and Oscar were just talking, that I always say that personal development and professional development go hand in hand. So you can't build a service, and I really help people, you know, build purpose-driven, service-based businesses, right? You can't build a business that does good in the world if you're not willing to work on yourself. Like your business, like a child, is like a reflector of everything in you, good, bad, shadow, light, the whole kit and caboodle, and it's going to bring it up in you, and you have to deal with that stuff if you're going to build the business that really is going to have that impact, you know. And impact doesn't have to be measured by someone's idea of a multi-6-figure, 7-figure business. It could be, when I hear Mona say that she had that experience on a 30-minute call, it warms my heart, and I'm just like, that's my purpose. If someone walks away and has that experience of a 30-minute call, great, that's wonderful. Like, it doesn't have to be measured in, did she sign up with me? Did it get me closer to my financial goals? That's not, although of course we do deal with that too, but you know, it's so, you know, I just wanted to reference that. But then you asked me an actual question. What was the question you just asked me, Phil?
What was the question I just asked? I was listening to you. I fell into track with what you were saying.
That's okay.
We have to have Frank on to talk about focus.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, but my question was basically, you know, do you ever find that you have to be someone's?
Oh, the therapist.
That's the one. Okay.
That's it. So I'm very clear on who my ideal clients are, in that I say to people, I'm not a therapist, but this is by default somewhat of a therapeutic process, just by the way that I look at the whole person, right? So, but what I don't want is people coming to me and just wanting a sounding board. I'm like, we're here to do work, right? So I will be loving, I will be all of these things, but at a certain point I'm going to be like, let's get to work. And that's why I have a framework that we use, so that it's actually a lot of times very process driven. People are attracted to working with me because I have a very clear process, and it makes a lot of sense. Whereas I think a lot of times people say to me, oh, I spoke to a business coach and they told me about how they were going to help me bust through my blocks, but there was no real process and no real outcome that they could see. Yeah, you know, and I think people want that in their business. So it's a mix of like the heart and then the head, you know.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I realize is that structure, and that's what I love about Mona too. Like structure is something that people need.
Mm.
It's not like you find yourself confused, when you're trying to do everything and nothing is getting done.
Yeah.
Because, doing isn't the process of success. Like, yeah, you can do and do and do, but you can be on a treadmill and not be going anywhere.
Mhm.
That's
And when
busy.
you get off the
Busy.
treadmill, you're like,
Yeah.
wow, I did a lot of work today. Where are you? You're at the same place you started, because
Right. That's right.
The difference.
nothing that you did added up to anything.
Yeah. The difference between being busy and productive. That's, two
That's
different
right.
things.
Right.
Again, you can run on a
Yep.
treadmill, but you're not going to get to the grocery store. It's
Oh,
not
you'll
going to
lose
happen.
weight though. You'll definitely lose weight, but that's not your goal, right?
Goal is getting
Right.
to the grocery store.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What are some of the things you see people doing now that's not working? Like, what are some of the like obvious? Some obvious, some not so obvious. But what would you say that would be?
I think the biggest thing is like trying to do things the way they were before. It's like the child trying to get the square peg in the round hole and just like bang it and bang it and bang it. Just like,
you should be working.
Yeah, it goes back to the sort of the flexibility and the resiliency, right? And that being able to adapt. So I think people or people waiting for it to be over, waiting for something outside of them, the election, the whatever it is, to like be over. A vaccination doesn't matter. It's going to be different anyway. Life is always different. Like, this is just like a big wake up call of just like, did you get it? Life is always changing. May not be as dramatic as this, but life is always changing. So like, get used to it. And one of the interesting things I was thinking about when you guys were talking earlier was just like, having been one of the reasons I like to work with established creatives too, or entrepreneurs, is like, what it's like. We've all been around the block a few times, right? When you've been around the block and you've like fallen and failed, like as every human being does, when something like this happens, you're just like, I don't know what the future holds, but I haven't been broken yet. So there's no reason why I should break now. I am more experienced. I am better at what I do. I am hopefully nicer and kinder than I've ever been. Why now would I break, right? So I think the waiting is the thing, and just being passive, right? Like, you gotta get out there, mix it up a little bit, like get into these conversations people are having, like use what's going on outside of us as a way to further refine your point of view, your commitment to causes and things that you believe in, right? If you see something out there that needs fixing, stop building that into your business. Yeah.
Because most businesses are fixing a problem. I mean, you'll find that even even when you volunteer, sometimes you find yourself volunteering to do something, and within volunteering, you find your business. You find the thing that people need that is required for something to work. And next thing you know, you are the next billionaire because you invented this one little thing. I mean, I think about the guy that invented the bolt, right? You had the screw and everybody was screwing in. And he's like, it's not staying. I wonder what would happen if I put a bolt at the other end of it. He's the bolt guy, right? It wasn't the greatest invention in the world, but he fixed the problem. Right? And that's sometimes like we have these big issues now, but I think if you just take the time to sit back and assess and say, where's my place in being the answer to this problem?
Yeah.
I mean, you'll find that you'll come up with all sorts of answers, and you connect with these different people that can help your idea become great, and you get a business coach, they can guide you through the process of that. Whereas
and also, Phil, not every idea is great. That's the other thing we have to remember. Like, just because we have an idea doesn't mean it's all great, and
that's so true.
Having a sounding board, whether it's a business coach or your board of advisors, they can be like your friends who are business owners too, that can say, I don't know, tell me more, like explain how you see that,
how that would work. I saw this commercial, and they had they were talking about horrible inventions, right? And so they had a gold necklace tray that you could put all your stuff in
Oh
the
my
tray.
God.
And they're like, you can carry this around conveniently. We have it in leather. We have it in gold.
That
I was
sounds
like,
nuts. That is
nobody's
not a good
going to buy
idea.
that. Not
No,
a good idea. So yeah, definitely that.
no.
You were talking about, you were mentioning before in your intro, you were talking about messaging and positioning. Do you think our messaging, well, you kind of talked about it, that flexibility, but will our messaging and positioning in this, day and age, has it changed?
It all depends, right? Every person's business is different. I always say, like, your messaging doesn't serve you, it serves your client. Your messaging is to help your ideal clients, the people you're uniquely equipped to serve, to see themselves in what you're sharing. They need to be seen, they need to feel heard, they need to feel understood. That's why we write why I write a compelling story instead of a bio. It's like I write the story that my client needs to see themselves in, not my story as I wish to tell it. It's a story that connects with them. So I think with messaging, if the world is changing and your needs are changing and your ideal clients' needs are changing, then yeah, maybe your messaging does need to change. I mean, I looked at my messaging recently and I was just like, no, I think it's still pretty on target for now. Where I get to play with the things like I'm interested in talking about a little bit more is in my blog. I write a newsletter and a blog. If people go to my website, they can sign up for that there. And that's where I explore things like, activism, things that aren't a part of my wheelhouse professionally, but are things that I'm really intrigued about and I want to explore as a way of how does that work in our businesses, in terms of our missions, our visions, where we lend our support. So I would say, if your messaging is reflective of who you are and how you help other people and who they are and their need to be seen and heard, then no, don't change it. If it's not, if it's like this cookie cutter, like we're a full service, blah, 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 then change it, right? Speak to something real.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like authenticity is very important to you and that you bring that out in people. And like I mentioned before, like that is what creates the strength of the company or the individual or the entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's the essence of it's like the brand, the business's DNA, right? Is that a lot of times it's the founder, and what they care about.
How important is character in business?
Oh gosh, how important is character in anything? Character is all there is, right? You don't have good character, you don't have anything.
That's the difference between a boss and a leader. So a boss can tell you what to do, but then when the boss is away, you're just going to do whatever the hell you want. Where a leader, will inspire you that when that person isn't there, everyone's still working at top capacity because you're being made to feel part of the business. So again, if you got the character of just like, the meetings will continue until morale increases, is not the way you want to run a business.
Right. Well, the other thing about character might be translated into values, right? So I'm a big fan of, identifying what your values are, and having no more than 3 or 4. And I like to think of them in terms of like what they look like on the inside, meaning like how you conduct yourself, and what they look like on the outside, meaning how are they actionable behaviors that could be modeled, communicated in your business. And it's something that I always take my clients through for them. Because you really start to see if you've got to narrow it down to 3 or 4, many values kind of seem similar. So you've really got to think about them. And one of the things I'm doing, just to your point, Mona, about messaging, is I am going to be adding my values to my website so that people can see, like, and in terms of like, what do they look like in action? Like, how are these behaviors that show up? Rather than like, integrity is one of our values. Yes, everyone says their value is integrity, but like, what does that actually look like? How is that a behavior that we do, right? So I think character and values can be sort of the same thing, I think.
I love that.
I think how I define character is it's a buildup of values. I think they're really kind of like intertwined, and you'll be surprised. I mean, how people define those values differently.
Mm.
And that's why sometimes we kind of like rub each other the wrong way, because my values are, well, integrity. Integrity is what's integrity to you, right? Integrity around everything that revolves around you, or is it incorporative, right? Is it just like you being honest? Is that your integrity? I've found that it's like character, and then the values that build that up are so complex, because everybody, if you don't interview them and kind of find out what they mean by that, you would think that you're on the same page until they start defining what integrity means to them. I mean, for some people, loyalty is, if you lie, I'll cover you. That to me is that compromises my integrity.
That's right.
But you want loyalty. It's that's it's crazy.
I also think it goes to, I was just going to quickly comment on that. I think it goes to what Justine was saying as well, like your values should show through your actions. So if your actions reflect your loyalty, then that should be the interpretation. But if you say, if you are, one of your values is loyalty, and then loyalty is covering up from a friend, which then it kind of it shows in your action. Basically, that's what I want to say. And I was also going to mention Brené Brown, but you can go ahead.
So she has, if anyone's just like, well, this sounds good, but Brené Brown in her book Dare to Lead, and on her website, if you type in Brené Brown values, there's a whole bunch of like worksheets you can do, as either a founder or a leader of a team, of how to operationalize your values. So, whoops, I'm slipping off my chair here. I've got one of those little stools that's like a first standing desk, most coaching stools, but it was like slipping from underneath me. So I'm back. So that's a really great resource.
No, she's awesome. She has in her book Dare to Lead, she has like a whole page of examples of values. And when you read through them, you're like, oh, that's my value, and all of a sudden you have like 20 of them on a list. But you really have to dig deep, and I guess that's a process that you also take your clients through, where you actually go down, you say, okay, well, is that really it, or is there something like, let's dig deeper, let's dig deeper, because that is so important, because it links back to the authenticity, like your values is who you are as a person. And I believe as a business that needs to come through, like who you are as a person, and that will make you more credible and And then again, on a tactical level, that's where values and your unique value proposition can also really be connected. So say, for example, I used to work with a designer, and she had been trained as an architect, and rigor was one of her values. And we put that into her positioning statement as to what made her unique, was that she brought this rigor to branding and design that regular folks didn't, right? And this process. So that's an idea of how your values can actually be used as something to identify you as unique as well, not just like this pretty statement that you're putting on your website.
Yeah, I mean, I love this subject so much. We're gonna have to have a part 2, Justine. We have to have a part 2. Come on now.
Look at how you keep getting me back, Phil. You're just like, all right, let's just like, let me put you in the calendar. And suddenly I've got a Zoom call.
Since we're on the air, let's see the muffins. When can you come back?
Phil, I'll bring the muffins.
Don't bring up those muffins, man. You know what? Justine is on the line. I'm gonna be nice today. Okay, I'm gonna be nice today. But it was great. It's really great having you on, and I love having conversations with you, because I love your perspective and how you think about things. And the group here, Mona, Oscar, you guys are amazing. So we're really going to be moving on. Tomorrow we'll be back tomorrow, and I guess Frank will be on tomorrow as well. So we look forward to having that. He's going to be on around 12, and I believe Mona is going to be back tomorrow as well. So we're glad that everybody is watching. Just please pay attention to this video that we're going to be playing before we go. Hi, my name is Philip Reed, and I am the President and CEO of Phoenix National Business Group. Today, I'm going to give a presentation as to what my company does, what we stand for, and what we are about. Phoenix National Business Group is an online marketing, media, and production company that produces websites, professional social media platforms, and online video productions for companies, places of worship, and entrepreneurs. Our programs also includes a unique series of talk shows and online events that empower the public with information that will improve their lives, with positive, uplifting messages reflecting the love of God and His vision of grace and restoration for the world. We have and are pulling together a network of entrepreneurs and leaders that seek to change the world with the fundamental belief that without hope, dreams die. Not only do we develop and produce these programs, we also establish platforms for distribution through our social media presence, which has thousands of viewers throughout the internet. We also have our own channel, PNN, Phoenix National Network, that goes out to millions of people across the world on Roku and Amazon TV. Our motto is, when you win, we win, because we believe in helping normal people and businesses do extraordinary things by developing, creating, and publishing their ideas to the world. This is what Phoenix National Business Group does, and we do it proudly. If you would like more information about the services and products that we offer, please feel free to visit our website at phoenixnationalbusinessgroup.com, or you can give us a call at 914-297-PNBG. That is 914-297-7624. We do look forward to hearing from you, and see you soon. Phoenix National Business Group is now offering their online services on Roku and Amazon TV for only $99.99 per month. This is a limited time offer, so give us a call at 914-297-7624 for more information, or visit our website at phoenixnationalbusinessgroup.com. That is phoenixnationalbusinessgroup.com. See you soon.